So, hello everyone, and welcome today to our How to Make More Sales Before, During, and After Vendor Events. This is one of my favorite workshops to run because every maker that I've met has always started out doing some sort of market, some sort of vendor event. But oftentimes it can be a challenge to figure out how to bring money in between the vendor events or how to make sure that those vendor events are bringing in the money that you actually want. So, I am looking forward to today to sharing some of the tips and tricks that I've learned over the years, and then answering any questions for those of you who are on live at the end of this. So before we get started, if you're on Facebook and you want to join us, get the Zoom link. If you signed up and registered for the workshop, the Zoom link will be in your email. I'd love to have you here. Like I said, there's going to be a Q&A session afterwards. And for those of you who are on the call right now, definitely hang around if you have any specific questions and we can dive a little bit deeper into your specific business at the end of this workshop. And so when we you start a handmade businesses. Some of us start them as a hobby. Some of us start it because we are looking to replace a full-time income. But oftentimes we quickly run up against this wall of just wondering how we're going to make it work and where we're going to make our money, right? Vendor events are fine, but they could be sporadic, they could be seasonal, and let's be honest, they're a lot of work. They are exhausting. And so, my big question as we go into this workshop is what if you made money all year round, regardless of whether or not you had a vendor event lined up? So, we're going to talk about strategies to make the most money possible at vendor events, but we're also going to talk about how we can use these vendor events to feed money into our business, even when we don't have anything on the calendar. Because my goal is that over time, the vendor events are something that you do because you enjoy that connection, you enjoy those people, but it's not something that you have to do because otherwise your business isn't making money. So let's be honest, right? Your time is precious. We've all got a lot going on. We've all got families, whether we've got parents to care for or children to care for or to care for. We've got a lot of demands on our time. Some of us work full-time jobs outside of our handmade business, or our spouses are working full-time jobs. There's a lot going on. And these weekends at vendor events can be exhausting. Even if it's just a Saturday, even if it's just for 4 hours, there's the lead up time, there's the setup, there's the actual event, there's the tear down, there's like that emotional drain from being on and connecting with people all day. Some of you may be very extroverted and really thrive on vendor events. I enjoy vendor events, but I also am so drained by the end of them because I'm an introvert that it takes me days to recover. And it was fine when it was just me and my husband, but when I had 2 little kids at home, I didn't have that recovery time anymore. And that's exhausting, but that was also where all the money is coming from, right? If you're not at vendor events, where are you gonna make money? Social media is noisy, websites are hard to get tracked to, and so oftentimes makers get stuck in this trap of, "I have to do vendor events are my only option," and just kind of feeding into this cycle. But if you're here, welcome. I understand and I know that you have big dreams for your business. You may want to create a full time employment for yourself. You may want it to replace your entire family income. It's possible that you want to use this money to create a change in the world and invest in the missions and the purposes in the community and the world around you that you find valuable. And so we want to be able to make this happen. But even with these big dreams, you still struggle to break free from relying on nonstop vendor events to the point where you've got a vendor event, you've got someone else doing a vendor event on the same day representing your business. So you are multiplying yourself at multiple vendor events. But again, that is labor intensive, that is time intensive, and it's not always practical. So we want to change that. And as we're going to these events, oftentimes we'll see businesses who are further along on their path than us, and you see them and they're bringing in sales online and in person, and it looks effortless. And that can also be so disheartening. When I had my bag business for knitters and crocheters, this is one of my hand knit shawls. I would go to these events and I would see these yarn dyers who I was under the impression they were making thousands of dollars a month in online sales and they only did a couple vendor events and they seemed to be killing it. And I couldn't understand how it was so easy for them, how they made it seem like it was the simplest thing to build. When I look at a yarn dyer just in the booth next to them, and that woman is struggling to make any money outside of a vendor event. She's struggling to bring in enough additional income to make it worthwhile. And so seeing it look effortless for some people and for the other really had me wondering what the difference was, and how we can take advantage of some of the opportunities here so that it didn't have to look like that anymore. We didn't have to see the people who were making it work and the people who were struggling vendor event after vendor event. And so let's be honest, vendor events are unpredictable. You never know what you're going to get between events half the time. Um, oh, hold on. It's hard for me to admit people while I'm doing this. Um, and vendor events can be unpredictable from one to the next. And they can also be unpredictable from 1 year to the next. A vendor event that's great this year might not be next year. And so oftentimes we're just wanting a repeatable way to make sure we're making sales every month without losing of all of our weekends, right? I don't want to invest a weekend in something that's not going to generate revenue or new customers for my business. But I also don't want to constantly be taking risks in order to do that. So you're looking for something repeatable. You're looking to make sales every month on a consistent basis, but you also want to do it without losing all of your weekends. And so raise your hand, drop a comment in the chat real quick if you have tried any of the following. So I'd love to hear if you've tried raffling off a free item at a festival or discounting products. If you've tried running lives on Facebook or Instagram. If you have, fallen into the trap of feeling like you constantly have to message people in order to get them to buy, or that you have to have a website set up in order to make more with your business. So real quick in the chat, just drop a note. Have you tried any of the following in order to try and just get a little bit more sales from vendor events or in between vendor events? Okay. So I know that oftentimes I will see vendors all over the place raffling off a free item as a way to try and get people's contact information, discounting products. So I often, almost every event you'll see people offering a show special or a discount. But sometimes those discounts can seem a little drastic with trying to get customers. There's that trap of if a vendor event doesn't go well, I just need to change up how I'm displaying everything. Well, I just need to change up all of my decorative items. Well, I'm going to try all these different things, and so constantly reinventing the wheel, or feeling like if you're not on nonstop on Facebook, on Instagram, doing these live sales that we saw were very popular in 2016 to 2020, thinking that that's not going to work. So before we dive into the meat of that, I would like to take a minute to introduce myself. I appreciate you all joining me today. My name is Stephanie DeSonier. I am a business sales and production strategist. So I help product business owners understand how to manage their marketing and their resources to hit their revenue goals. I work with women who have product based businesses that they're making out of their basements, like so many of you here today, to people who have small manufacturing facilities who are making products with entire teams of people. And through this process, I guide them through making their first $50,000 to getting the systems and the data and the information in place so that they are able to make smart decisions to grow their business into multi six figures and to hire the right team around them. And so I have worked for the last 7 years at a nonprofit entrepreneur resource center. Before that, I had my own handmade knitting bag business for a little over a decade. Right before COVID, I was to the point where I was working with a manufacturer. I had a sales rep up and down the Mid Atlantic, and things were on an upward trajectory. During COVID, I decided to take a step back from that business for a number of reasons. But I learned a lot over those 10 years of running that and how to scale a product based business in a way that felt in alignment for me as a woman and me as a mom and me as someone who had a family to take care of. And so I'm so excited to share that with you all today. And what I'm about to tell you today, I wish I had learned when I first started selling my products. I can still see the pictures of my first vendor event on my phone, on my little like this day 15 years ago. And there's so much that I didn't know, and there was so much I wasn't aware of. And if I had someone that I could watch something like this or learn from, I think my business would have done so much better, so much faster. But I learned it all the hard way. I struggled through figuring out what worked and what didn't. And so my goal here today is to shorten, we're going to fold some time for you. So even if you just learn one thing from me today, hopefully that makes it a little easier and faster for you. So in this presentation today, I'm going to show you the 3 stages to selling with vendor events. So we're going to start with what events are for you. How are we identifying the right events? What do we need to do to make sure that we're getting in front of the right people? I'm also going to cover how to increase sales at the event. And it's not just offering a discount. We're going to talk about some other strategies there because making money around the vendor event is great, but we also want to make sure you're making money at the vendor event. And then finally, making sales for weeks afterwards. The sale does not have to stop when you start tearing down that booth. We want to keep that going. We want to leverage that and keep the ball rolling there. So today we're going to build the foundation to making more money that you can then leverage to grow your handmade business in the way that best fits you and your family. And if you're wondering if you're in the right place or you're not sure that this will work for you, that is a picture of the top of my head and some of the knitting bags that I used to sell. This was one of my early vendor event setups. But what we're about to uncover has worked for brand new crafters preparing for their first show. This has worked for seasoned vendors who are looking to stop traveling so much and want to make their money just a little bit easier. And also makers with very niche products and even food vendors. So if you fall into any of these categories, there is something here for you. So we're going to go through this step by step. So grab out your notebook and let's get ready to take some notes. So let's get started. The first step is what events. Now, oftentimes when we start our handmade businesses, our first reaction is we want to get into just whatever event is available to us. The church Christmas craft shows or the school craft shows, the local elementary school or high school. Maybe some of the street fairs or some of the vendor events that get coordinated by people who do like these group MLM sales. And this is the first trap that new makers fall into is how to choose the right vendor event for you. But even as we grow and we become more experienced, this is still a challenge because even if a vendor event looks like it might be the best match for you on paper, it's not always going to be the best match for you in reality. And this is a step many people skip in the beginning, and it's a step that many people don't spend a lot of time on as they grow. They kind of just keep trying to go to as many similar vendor events as possible without taking the time to understand which events they should do. So what are our options even? Like I said, there's the church festival. There's niche events like fiber festivals that I've sold at. It's an entire weekend dedicated to sheep and sheep products and buying yarn. There's Comic Cons, entire weekends devoted to pop culture and cosplay and comics and anime and things like that. Really targeted industries. There's homeschool events where people who provide resources for homeschoolers are vending there. We also have farm markets. Farm markets are have been popping up everywhere for the last decade, and the most stable ones are really starting to expand and bring in a lot more vendors outside of just produce and agriculture, and bringing in some tangentially related products. Another one are first Fridays, third Saturdays, third Thursdays, but a lot of downtown districts, at least in Pennsylvania, have started implementing these kind of art events or downtown shopping events to get more people engaging in the community there. And so they'll have vendors and music and food trucks at these kind of things. PTO fundraisers, they're often trying to bring people in for a craft fair at the school to raise money. Or art events, juried art shows, high-end art exhibit kind of week-long shows. There's a big one at Penn State. There's a big one up in Western New York that are much more exclusive and difficult to get into. Plus others that I haven't listed here. But the point is that there are so many options for vendor events that being able to sit down and take the time to really think through which ones are right for you is the first step in this entire process. So how do you know which ones are right for you? The first one is, where do your buyers like to shop? Right. So, for example, maybe you sell mystery book bundles, right? Or a blind date with a book where it's packaged up with brown paper, just a little teaser description on the front. You might be able to sell these at any event, right? You could sell them at a Comic Con, you could sell them at a First Friday. Heck, you could sell them at a Fiber Festival, right? But what if you were able to pick and choose only the events full of buyers looking for exactly what you have to offer? And so, what does that mean? That means that you have to actually take some time to get into the mindset of your buyer. Just because we might like an event doesn't necessarily mean that our customers are going to like an event or that our customers are going to be motivated to spend at an event. For instance, there's a harvest festival that happens near my home that I love to attend. I love to shop there, I love to go there. But I will never set up a booth at that harvest festival, even though I think it's a great event. And why is that? That's because the people coming to the harvest festival are primarily families who are looking for affordable gifts for the kids or themselves, some small little trinkety items, and food. And so, knitting bags and knitting needles and pattern storage are so targeted that even though in terms of the season, right? It's the perfect time of year at a harvest festival to be doing something in the fiber industry. And the location, there are a lot of crafty people in that region. The handcrafts are very, very popular, but those people aren't attending that event to spend money on those things. And so, even though I enjoy the event, my customers, my buyers aren't attending that event in order to buy those items. So, getting really clear on where your buyers are going to show up because we don't want to go everywhere in the hopes of chasing them down. We want to focus on the biggest pool for us to draw people from. And social media is not the only way to sell, right? We're not going to lean on searching through social media for our vendor events or trying to post on there begging people to come to our vendor event. But in between the vendor events, you maybe you post a couple times and that's the extent of your marketing. So instead, we want to create a way to sell your product in between these events without having to remember to get on social, right? So we still talk about the event. The organizers want the show to be successful, and you want to make money. So we want to make it a win-win, right? And so what do I mean by this? Like I said, social is not the only way to sell, but we also need to make sure that wherever we are showing up, we are talking about the events we have coming up. And we are drawing attention to the event and the organizers, not just ourselves. If I am going on Facebook and I'm going to be a vendor at an event, I'm going to tag the event on there. I'm going to tag the organizers on there. And half the time, I'm going to tag some of the other vendors on there as well. Why? One, it builds a little bit of goodwill, but also when I tag a business or another Facebook page in my posts, my stuff shows up to their audience too. So now I'm not just telling my audience I'm going to be at this event. I'm telling their audience I'm going to be at this event. And I'm going to tell those businesses' audience that I'm going to be at this event. The other opportunity is anytime you are out in a community anywhere, making sure that you're sharing about it. So many times I've heard people say, "Oh, I didn't even know you were going to be vending at that," or "I didn't even know there was an event going on out there." If you're going to be vending somewhere, tell the PTO that you're meeting up with, or tell the parents of your play date, or excuse me, tell your coworkers. Being able to get it out there is one of the most important things. And that's one of the biggest challenges I see for many makers and creatives, and especially newer makers and creatives, is we get very self-conscious about looking like we're being self-voting or being salesy, and so we don't talk about these things as much. We don't tell people where we're going to be. I have a friend who makes candles, and oftentimes I will just happen to see that she's going to be vending at something that is within a reasonable driving distance for me. And if I can go, I try to go. But oftentimes I'm like, hey, why didn't you tell me you were going to be vending at this thing? It's 30 minutes from my house. Or, hey, why didn't you tell me you're going to be vending there? We actually bought tickets. Like, I'm super excited to see you there now. But if you don't tell the people in your life, if you don't tell the people around you who are already interested in your product, they're not going to be able to go and support you at all. And so making sure that you are being very loud and very proud about the fact that you're selling at these places. Um, we're not here to be meek. We're not here to be humble, right? We are here to make money and get our products out into the world and have people enjoy them. And we can't do that if we are too afraid to tell people where they can find us or how they can get our products. So when we're leading up to it, the first thing is really identifying the events that we want to be at that have the right customers, but then tell people you're going to be at those events. Make sure that they know where to find you and how to find you. Make sure that you are leveraging the audience that these events are building by tapping into their network as well. Another thing that I like to do is I will reach out to the organizers and I will offer to do a free little demo or intro to my bags or my products for them to use in their marketing materials because that gives them content to share and it gets me name recognition and visibility without having to do a whole lot. So as we start building up to going into events, those are some things I want you to keep in mind. Where are you going to go? Why are your buyers going to be there? And then how do we make sure people know that we're going to be there? And how do we tap into those other audiences? The key here really is your audience wants to find you. They want to know where to buy from you. And sure, they might be able to buy online or send you a message on, Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever. But many times people are busy. So remind them where they can find you, remind them how they can buy your products, remind them that maybe they're running a little low on whatever it is. So then we move on to step number two. We have identified the vendor event. We know exactly where we want to sell and who's going to be buying from us there. We have shared it all over the place. We have talked about it until we are sick and tired of hearing ourselves talk about it, right? And so now we're at the vendor event. So how do we make more money at our vendor events? What can you do during it to maximize the likelihood of a sale, right? If we're going to invest our time there, we want to make sure we're making the most money. So what are some strategies? The first big one is to invite them in. And this one is going to feel really simple. And some of you are going to be like, yeah, we already do that. Duh. Like that's nothing new. But oftentimes what I'll see is vendors will start to do this. They'll have a little bit of an impetus here. But there are some things we can do to really set you apart. Sorry, I've got a cold, so I've got some gunk going on today. So for instance, uh, free candy. That one kind of feels a little too easy sometimes to people, right? Oh, well, put out a bag of candy. I'm just going to get all these kids or people are going to grab the candy and or everyone's got candy out. Like that's not going to attract anyone in. Honestly, you're right. Probably at this point, free candy might not necessarily do it unless you've got some nice candy. And the key here is it's not just a bowl right at the front of your table where people are going to walk by. We want to put it inside your booth. We want to encourage them to come in. If they walk in, they've got this sweet little treat, which all of a sudden now is creating this attitude of reciprocity. Because if I've got a little Lindt chocolate thing going on, one of those little like toffee or like filled chocolate balls, you all know what I'm talking about, right? If I go in and I'm eating one of those, I'm getting endorphins because I'm eating chocolate, right? And so now I'm feeling good. And that since I'm feeling good, I'm like, oh, like I really like this stuff they have. And like they've made me feel really good coming in here. Like I feel like I should buy something now. Um, it's not a bribe, but it is a strategy of creating an attitude of reciprocity. So when we do candy, we're not just putting Hershey's Kisses or Tootsie Rolls or something, right? Like what is going to match your brand and what is going to really appeal to people, build that goodwill and that reciprocity, and have them take a minute and stop and really consider what it is you're selling. Stickers are another great one, especially if you can get them for pretty cheap. If they're stickers with your brand on them, that's amazing marketing, right? Because people put stickers on everything. Even if they're not your brand, stickers are really fun because many many millennials at least seem to have never outgrown the sticker collection. We love stickers, and we will get them, and I would show you guys my computer right now, except I'm on it. It's covered in stickers, and probably a third of them are from one of my favorite vendors. So I will, if I'm in there, I would gladly take a sticker from someone. And again, that's that reciprocity. A water bottle station. This is actually one I used at one fiber festival before COVID, and this went over so incredibly well. I had a cooler and I had those little mini water bottles, and so I just had a free water bottle for anyone who wanted it. You stop by my booth, you come into my booth, I'll give you a free water bottle. And when it's a hot day, that went over really well. People really enjoyed that and appreciated that. Another one is if you have the capacity to set up a little charging station. So people would come into my booth and I'd be like, hey, while you're browsing, feel free to plug in your phone and charge it. Now, some people get weird about security issues with that. But for me, I was fine with offering it. And if someone wanted to take advantage of it, they could. It was just like a battery block. And if someone felt uncomfortable with that, they didn't have to, but just the opportunity to offer some other benefit, right? So how can we create a benefit for them coming in? How can we build that goodwill? How can we create that reciprocity? Because when we feel like you have given me something for free, or for minimal attention on my end, I am more likely to buy from you or to at least give more consideration to what you have to offer. So think through how you can invite people into your booth in a way that's not going to cost you a lot of money. Like I said, the candy is great. The water bottles might be a little bit pricier option, but if you're at a hot festival, that is always a great choice. Stickers are always good, and the benefit of stickers is sometimes you can bribe kids to behave while mom and dad are browsing through your products with the stickers, and then mom and dad really appreciate that. Uh, Another one is providing an incentive to buy, so like a show only discount, limited stock, or bundle packages. So you remember at the beginning I said I see people doing discounts, but what I'm talking about here is there's a difference between doing discounts, and I've seen people do some crazy like 30, 40% off discounts at vendor events, which oftentimes to me kind of feels like a fire sale, and doing something like a show only discount. And for, a show only discount might be like buy three, get one free, or buy three, get one half off, or something that's motivating their buying habits in order to get them to achieve that discount, not just 20% off, 30% off, 40% off, right? But like, why am I going to benefit by purchasing now today at this show rather than ordering online or waiting a while? Limited stock's another great one if you have seasonal products, right? Highlighting that these are seasonal. Oftentimes, I will see artists or makers who have seasonal products that don't draw attention to it at all. They don't have it labeled as seasonal. They don't have it labeled as limited time only. And as much as we may not want to use those kind of words or feel a little bit weird about it, because for us we might be like, okay, well, yeah, limited time only, but it's going to come back next fall, or I'm going to change it a little bit and it's going to have a different variation in the spring. Yes, but our buyers are still human and our human brains are still wildly underdeveloped when it comes to certain things. And seeing limited stock, limited time only, seasonal scents often triggers a buying reaction in us. Oh, I don't want to miss out on this. A really great example of this is Oktoberfest beer, right? It is October 9th right now when I'm recording this. And we went to a brewery yesterday for lunch and we ordered an Oktoberfest, and they told us they were already out. They were done for the season of Oktoberfest. Um, and I now feel like I missed out on that entire season of beer because it's a limited run. They only do it in the fall, but it also started way sooner than I was used to now. But so once I see Oktoberfest beer hit the shelves, I know it's coming back next year. But I also know that as soon as I see it, I need to buy it because I'm not going to get a chance again. Um, and so I don't know what my computer just did. And so that limited time only or that seasonal special really does, trigger a response, not unnecessarily, but for people who are desiring this, it gives them a little bit more motivation to buy. Another one is a bundle package. I was a huge fan of bundles. If you bought at my show only, you could get a bundle package that would equal out to a decent discount. I think it was like 20%, but it wasn't advertised as 20%. It was buy this matching set for only it was like $78 or something, and the normal price was like close to 100 maybe. But these bundle packages are really good because what we're doing with that, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to increase the average transaction value. So when I say that, what I mean is, oftentimes people come into our booth and they'll buy one item. So it'll be a $12 candle or a $20 bag or a $15 cutting board, right? So we get these small little transactions. But now if I've got a bundle, I can say, yeah, I've got that $20 bag. A lot of people, come back the next year looking for a matching bag, and I rotate these out. But you could buy all three sizes, this matching set, for only, $78. You would get all three, you save a little bit of money, and then like you don't have to worry about if you want a matching bag next year and I'm all out. And so that increased my transaction value because now my transaction went from $20 to $78. Just by letting them know, like, hey, I've made it easy for you to do this thing that I know people are going to want to do. So if you do mystery book bundles, for instance, you could say, yeah, one book is $7. But let's be honest, you're going to read through it in probably about 4 hours, right? Because I know you book people. If you buy four of these books in this genre right here, you're gonna, you can get them for $17, and then you have gotten, 4 days worth or an entire month's worth, however you want to surprise yourself. So the excitement doesn't have to end with just that one book, because you're going to you're going to open it, be excited about the book, and then you're going to read the book, and then you're going to get to the end, and you're going to be sad because you don't have a new exciting book to read. And so then you can unwrap another mystery book, right? So how can we spin these things? Buying candled packs that are complimentary scents or seasonal scents, or even just, hey, this set goes together because of the things I've named it, right? So how can you bundle packages that increase that transaction value? Because that will allow you to get more money during these events. Another tip is to engage with the other vendors. My best sales have come because a vendor has directed someone to my booth. I make sure to stop and talk to as many vendors as possible, introduce yourself to them, share what you've got. If you've got some samples that you can give them or whatever, hand those out as well. Let them know who you are. And then get the information. What did they sell? What do they have to offer? Just let them know, hey, I just want to know who I can send people to if they ask me about if they ask me about soaps, or if they ask me about where to find popcorn. Great. I'm so glad I got your information. I'll make sure to send people your way if they're looking for this. Those relationships become valuable. And as you cross refer people, not only does that help you with, that social proof with your customers, right? Because if a vendor is recommending you, they might be more likely to come check you out, but also with that other vendor, building those relationships. And I've had those lead to collaboration and partnerships in the past. Oh, yeah, there we go. Engage with other vendors. See, I just talked through all those slides. I'm so ahead of myself. And then finally, at the vendor event, even if you don't get a sale, make sure you get their information. The biggest mistake I see vendors and makers and creatives make is that they do not get information from people at their booths. So it's easy enough to put out a clipboard with a piece of paper, ask for a name and email address, but people have gotten wise to that. They don't really like to give out their email addresses anymore, right? We're not just gonna give it out there willy-nilly. It's very frustrating to have businesses show up in our inbox. So oftentimes, we need to look for a little more incentive for them to sign up. So, we could pair it with a small discount. Hey, if you sign up for our email list today, you'll get a unique coupon code for 10% off of anything you buy in our booth right now. Or if you sign up for our email list today, we're doing a giveaway at the end of the month, to our entire network and reach. Or signing for the email list. Hey, we're looking at sending out some tutorials or some information to people who are wanting to learn more about our product, or for people who want to be the first one to grab mystery books or the newest scents, or a name the scent competition. Whatever you have to do to incentivize them, get their information, especially if they're interested but they don't buy. Hey, no problem. Have a great day at the event. Before you leave, I would love to have you sign up for our email list, just so that you know when we've got the newest, the latest and greatest, whatever we've got. I used to hear vendors at fiber festivals, they would ask people if they wanted to sign up for their email list, but only if they made a purchase, right? It was only part of the checkout process. And then their words were, don't worry, I won't spam you with emails. I'll only email you if I have a sale or something. And so they were apologizing while trying to get someone on their email list. Like they were almost falling over themselves to try and make it sound like the least intrusive thing possible, which then ends up being a turnoff. Like, oh, well, I wasn't even worried about you being spammy or salesy, but like now I'm feeling a little uncomfortable about this. So just also thinking about how you're inviting people onto your email list, making it an exciting, exclusive club, and not making apologies for it because you know what? If they like your products, they're going to want to hear from you. And then maybe down the road they decide, your products aren't for them or your vibe isn't for them, and that's fine. And the worst they can do is unsubscribe. But give them a chance to want to connect more. But the sales don't stop here, right? We've vetted the vendor events, we've gone, we've connected with people, we've welcomed them in, we've incentivized them, we've connected with our vendors. But again, we want to make more money outside of just our vendor events. So what do we do once the vendor events are done? So the third step is making money after the event. So remember all that contact info that I just told you to grab? We're going to start emailing people. And sometimes it's going to feel super awkward. The emails don't have to be hard. You can invite them to connect with you on social at the event as well, but get them in your audience however you need to. Your Facebook audience, your Instagram audience, your email audience. But what do I say, Stephanie? I hear that all the time. I don't know what to talk about. I don't know what to say. Oh, it's just so weird. I don't want to feel like I'm just selling all the time. That's cool. I gotcha. First off, content is everywhere. We are surrounded by content in our businesses. We just don't see it because we are too close to it. So the easiest one for me is you share your customers' pictures or stories. Again, when I was running my bag business and I was sending my emails, I used to have a customer of the month highlight where the bottom part would be a customer's picture, sharing their little story about it and their tag on Instagram. All of this with their permission, but it was a really easy thing to be like, hey, look at this awesome thing my customer created using my products. How cool is that? You should go check them out and see the other cool things they've made. Um, if you sell candles, it could be something as simple as I remember I took a picture. I was burning a candle in front of like this hot cocoa like countertop display I made, and I tagged the candle maker in it. But for them, that would have been an amazing opportunity to be like, "Oh, we're so glad to bring the holiday atmosphere to your hot cocoa display, and everything looks super yummy," kind of deal, right? Um, Content doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be in depth. It doesn't have to be professionally done. It just has to be engaging. Why would someone want to see it? What story can you tell behind it? Or the customer story about how I did a mystery book and that book was so amazing that I then went and bought like 5 more books from that author because I'd never heard of them, would have never picked it up, but because of that one mystery book I bought, like I'm all in on the author now. So think through customer stories or pictures that you can share. Encourage your audience to tag you on social media in that case, or reach back out to your customers and ask if they have any stories or testimonials about your products or what you do. Another easy one is a behind the scenes tour. I will set my camera up over here. This is my sewing machine table. My machine's inside there. But oftentimes I'll just set it up and I'll just do a video of me sewing for a little bit. It's not a huge tour because I don't have a huge space. I have a single sewing machine table. But a little bit of behind the scenes, seeing how I actually assemble some of the products I create. Maybe showing some of your workspace if you've got a candle pouring station, a soap pouring station, a time lapse video of the process, or just single snapshots of each stage of the process of you working. Oftentimes, you just get a cheap phone tripod and you put your phone on a timer setting for the pictures, and it's easy enough to do yourself. But again, your customers want to see that. They want to feel connected to the products that they're buying. And so that's a great way to do it. Another one is talking about why your product is meaningful to you. Sometimes maybe we start a product because it's something we know how to do and we think we can sell it, and so it sounds great. But oftentimes there's a reason behind why we started doing what we do. There's a reason behind the earrings that we make. There's a reason behind the books that we sell. There's a reason behind the pottery we create. Why did I do that? Why was this the medium I chose to express myself? And how do we then share that with our customers in a way that makes them feel more connected to us? Another one I love to do is sharing complimentary products by other makers. Like I said, I made knitting bags and pattern storage and knitting needles. I did not make yarn. I do not make yarn. I would be terrible at making yarn. So I would every month, like as I had the customer highlight every month, I would also do a yarn highlight. I would highlight another vendor whose yarn I was using and loving. And then I would let them know. I would be like, hey, I just let you know I did a shout out to you in my email list and on my social here. I really loved working with your stuff. And was excited to introduce that to more of my audience. Because again, it builds that goodwill for them, but for my audience, it also it sets me up as a resource for them because not only do I know my stuff, but I know these other things too that they would be interested in. So if I'm selling candles, I may set someone up with like a soap partner or someone who does like home decor, right? If they do like those like all the like the wooden beads and all the stuff that people use to decorate their homes, those might be great complementary products, right? I don't even need to like own it or have pictures of it. I just need to share what the other person has. So content can be so incredibly easy to create. And the other thing to remember is if you're already putting content on Facebook or on Instagram, you can just as easily put it in your email because Meta's algorithm means that like 10% of our audience sees anything we put out there. And so chances of our email list and our social media having a one-to-one overlap is very slim. And so even if they saw it on social, email typically has about a 30% open rate. So 10% here and 30% here, you might have 1 or 2% who see both, but you're probably going to get a much broader reach on that content by utilizing both things. And I just literally copy and paste, use the same pictures. We're not recreating the wheel. We're going to create something once and use it forever, right? If it's not time sensitive, there's no reason we can't reuse it. Oftentimes, again, our audience has a very short term memory. If you used something last fall that people really liked and responded to, and you have that same product this fall, you could probably just use the same content. You don't need to recreate it because it's already there and they're not going to remember. But the biggest thing is that they do want to hear from you, right? So whatever it is that you have to share, just make sure you're sharing it. Make sure you are reminding them that you're there and hearing what they are saying they want to learn about you and your products and engaging with them. And finally, by doing this, we're also encouraging these deeper connections. They are feeling like they know us, they know our products, we're entering their lives on a more regular basis. And this will then start leading to more sales. If we get them accustomed to seeing us in their inbox, we can sell to them in their inbox. It might not be every email, it might be 1 out of every 4 emails. Or it might be that you have an email that focuses on sharing a behind the scenes and then at the end of the email, you let them know, hey, if you wanted to buy the product that I was working on here, check out this link and direct them to that. So the goal here is we build our audience from those vendor events and we engage our audience after the fact through our email list and our social media in a very intentional, conscientious way. And then we drive them to additional purchases and sales outside of the vendor event container, whether it's through a website that we have or through just a custom order Google form, or if it's a shoppable album on Facebook. Any of these strategies would be usable. Well, I don't know how that sentence went. And you could use any of these strategies. So really keep in mind that I'm not even saying you have to have a website in this after the event stage. All I'm saying is you have to have an email service provider, and MailChimp is free. That's an easy one to get started with. Email service provider and a way for them to see your products and let you know they want to buy them. A Facebook shoppable album, an Instagram feed, a Google form, or a website. Any of those would work because our goal here is not just the selling, but the building of an audience and the building of connections, because that is what's going to lead to those consistent sales. And so then after doing this repetitively for a few events, you will start to see sales coming in outside of just doing those vendor events on a more consistent basis. And then to see sustained growth for this, we're really needing to focus on active participation versus passive vending. We're not finding a vendor event and not talking about it, showing up, setting our stuff up, sitting in our corner, playing on our phone, tearing down the vendor event and then not talking about it afterwards, right? We are intentionally choosing our vendor events and telling people about it and where we're going to be and who can come buy from us. We are actively inviting people into our booth, sharing our products with them, encouraging them to purchase complimentary products that we know they're going to come back for anyway next year. So you might as well just do it now. And then finally, continued follow up and engagement after the event that will allow us to continue generating those sales and create that sustainable growth system rather than passive vending. So, some final thoughts. First, you want to choose the right event for you. That is the first step to building sales. If you're not at the right event, you're not going to get the right people. If you don't have the right people, they're not going to care about emails you send, and you're not actually going to make more money. So, first step is just make sure we are choosing the right event for you and your customers and your buyers. It doesn't matter if you like the event, they need to like the event for what you're selling. Okay? If you are taking your books to a vendor event that is focused on Christmas gifts, that may not work because they're not looking to buy mystery books for a Christmas gift. They're looking to buy ornaments or smaller things. Or if you have like high-end art quality framed photography, a Christmas market might not be the best bet, but a juried art show would. So choose the right event. Recognize where your customers will shop, not necessarily where you will go. There are events that I've vended at that I would probably never shop at, but they've done very well for me because it doesn't matter if I would have shopped there. Create a welcoming and engaging space even for non-buyers. In the words of Renee Rebar, who is a sales expert, everyone you meet is one of the three C's: a connector, a collaborator, or a customer. And you never know which one they're going to be. So welcome everyone in, because even if they don't buy, even if they're not a customer, they might be a connector. They might share your information to someone who will be a buyer, or they might be a collaborator. They might have information and opportunities for you down the road that you were not aware of. And build relationships with other vendors. They're going to be with you at these events. They are going to be scoping out other events. They are great intel, but more importantly, they are really great referral partners. So make sure you're talking each other up. And finally, keep that connection going through email, social media, or even invitation-only events that you host. If you do a sip and stitch or a candle pouring workshop or a game night, find ways to invite that audience and that customer base in on a regular basis that builds those connections. And take that time then to learn what the customers want to know about you, create that content, and then use it over and over and over and over again. So after this, you've got the vendor sales system down, right? You know what you need to do to promote and connect at selling events and the strategies to keep that going even after the vendor event is done. But how do you continue to leverage this? Maybe you're like, that's great. That's only going to get me so far, right? I only have so much energy for vendor events. I don't know how I'm going to grow outside of that. I know how I'm going to build it any further. When I was working with my one-on-one clients, they were asking for templates and easy to follow plans and a framework that meant that they could sit down and know exactly what they needed to work on to reach their income goals, and that they could work on it even when we didn't have a call scheduled. And I wanted to help more women, right? But as a mom, I had limited time. I have a full-time role in a nonprofit on top of this business here. And it was challenging to figure out how to take on more one-on-one clients. And on top of that, most of my clients were other moms who wanted to do this when it fit into their daily schedule. And as we know, child care and elderly parent care or animal care, it does not care about your schedule, right? So they really wanted something that was a little more self-paced. So I needed to create something else besides just one-on-one. And so this is where I'm introducing the Profitable Creators, which is designed to empower makers to scale to and then through their first six figures. The purpose of Profitable Creators is to really walk you through everything we talked about today, but as it applies to your business as a whole. And so the framework here is really to first help you shift into that CEO mindset. What do we need to do to think about our business as an actual business and to treat ourselves as the owner and the decision maker there and not just a creative who is putting products out into the world and hoping we get paid? The next stage is clearly mapping out sales goals for the next 12 months. You can't grow a business if you don't know what you're reaching for. And I walk you through that process on creating goals, but not just any goals, but really tangible, feasible goals for where you are in life and in business. And then finally, the next phase is creating a sales strategy that fits your brand and your lifestyle. We're not going to sell in a spammy MLM, like scattershot direct messages to all our connections. It's going to be a sales strategy that feels genuine and authentic to you. And Profitable Creators was not designed for Etsy sellers. It was not designed for just vendors. It's designed to work with any sales channel, whether you're on Etsy, whether you're wholesaling on Faire, or whether you sell in person. It is an actual operations and sales platform and strategy. It is not just here's how Etsy works, here's how Faire works, although there are resources for both of those. So, what do you get from this? The first thing you'll get is the maker mindset. This is the whole foundation for making more money. How do we need to think about ourselves, our products, and our customers before we can start making money? So Tim Andraka, who was one of the first students within Profitable Creators, he was so fantastic to work with. He's a custom artist. That's one of his creations there. He was struggling to sell his artwork and again, only relied on vendor events. Within 2 months of implementing our new strategies, he launched a Kickstarter for his new comic book. We had a goal of hitting his funding within 2 weeks, and he hit it within 36 hours. He blew his funding out of the park primarily because of the strategies we talked about in this program. Like I said, the next stage is setting goals that you'll hit. So there's training for sales, production, and inventory forecasting. There are calculators and templates and guides for all of these. You're not just winging it. You're going to understand how to produce what you need to in order to make the money you want. You're going to understand how much inventory you need to have on hand, how to make your things for less, or how to raise your prices in a way that feels in alignment to you so that you can meet your income goals before moving on to finally the selling and selling authentically and selling in the most profitable channels for you. Gail Miller is a kombucha maker, so amazing to work with. When I met her, they were making kombucha out of a very small kitchen and doing 2 vendor events. As of this year, Gail has hired people to do markets for her. She has a co-packer who is making her dried soup mixes and is in a number of shops in central Pennsylvania and is actually working to try and get into some larger distributors such as Wegmans and Wise at this point. And so working with Gail and her business, implementing these strategies and reviewing these numbers really helped her go from, $10,000 a year to she hit $47,000 last year and is on track to do over 50,000 this year. You'll also get sales for creatives because let's be honest, as creatives, selling is not natural. It is not comfortable. We do not like it. And so this module is designed to really approach sales in a way that feels authentic and genuine to creative and to empathetic people who are not looking to take advantage, who are not looking to just make a buck, but really looking to provide a solution to a problem to our audience and make money in a way that feels in alignment with us. And so this is what this entire module is focused on. And Kelly Fitzpatrick was able to take advantage of this. She went from basically making $200 a month to $2,000 a month in just 3 months of working together through this system, and actually ended up helping pay for a new car so she could do a cross-country move. But I do also have some bonuses for you as well, because all of that content is great, and using that alone will help you get to where you want to go. But there are also some tools and strategies to make it even easier. And so, as one of your bonuses, you will get access to my AI resource library, which is all of my video trainings on how to use AI for your product business. You can use it for product listings, you can use it for descriptions, writing emails, helping you generate ideas for content. There are so many trainings and templates and videos in there that this alone is a great resource, but you will get access to this as part of Profitable Creators. Additionally, my good friend Alex Fleck, who is a Subly expert, has a training on how to add a subscription model to your business. Again, we all want consistent sales, right? Well, what if we knew that every month we were going to be bringing in a specific dollar amount because people were on a recurring subscription? And so that's what Alex talks about here, how we can create a subscription model for product-based businesses to make money and cash flow management a little bit easier for you. Lisa Conklin is an artistic sculptor. Her work, you can see the sun there, so quirky. Um, and she actually was able to utilize all this to quit her full-time job. Art has been her full-time job for 3 or 4 years now, and that has been so exciting to see for her as she's just gained the clarity on what exactly she needed to do to reach that goal. And so, if all this did was help you reach one goal, where would your business be? If it only increased your sales by 10% this year and made you more comfortable with selling, would the time invested be worth it? Or even if all it did was free up time in your business, maybe you didn't make any more money, but you had more free time now, would taking the chance on implementing something from it be worth it? Now, of course, programs like this are, available other places, but they're $2,500 sometimes, or extremely expensive, or they're very narrowly focused on single platforms, Etsy platform, Fair platform, something like that. And so my goal here is to create a program that brings value but doesn't break the bank. I want to take a holistic approach to growing your handmade business. That you can apply regardless of where you're selling, but it's also not going to be so expensive that you are feeling immediately burdened by buying this and then desperate to make that money back. Doing this alone is extremely hard. And over years of teaching women, while you could just take all this content and run, it's still hard to do it all yourself. And sometimes people need support with implementing. So, in addition, I've added 2 monthly calls. So each month, we have 2 chances to get on a call, answer your questions, and hold each other accountable. What are you trying to achieve this month or this quarter? Where are your roadblocks? How can we help you get unstuck? And talking through that. Because doing it alone is doable, is fine, and you will still see results, but doing it together is just so much more enjoyable, right? And so, 2 monthly calls when you start Profitable Creators. So, what does Profitable Creators include? We have the maker mindset, we have setting goals you'll hit, we have sales for creatives, we have our AI bonus, we have our subscription model bonus. We also have, I forgot to add a slide on this. I have a social media for introverts training. So, guest expert Kate Gilbert, the former owner of Twist Magazine, which was an online knitting magazine, she is now a social media expert. She has provided a training on how to use social media as an introvert without it overwhelming you. That is also a bonus in this program. But for the next 48 hours as well, I want to make sure you have all the tools needed. So we talked about email from vendor events, right? And how you can use that and how you can leverage that. But oftentimes people go, well, I'm stuck. I don't know how to get it set up. I don't know what system to use. I don't know initial emails to write. So this is why, to anyone who signs up for Profitable Creators in the next 48 hours, you will also get access to my Email Made Easy mini course. Now, this mini course walks you through from choosing your email platform. I talk through two, primarily MailChimp and Klaviyo. Choose your email platform, initially setting it up, writing your first welcome emails, and then continuing to nurture your audience on it. So within just a couple hours, you will be hitting the ground running with your emails. So that is a $47 value that you will also be getting as a bonus in this. And as well, you will get my vendor event profit calculator. So just by punching in a couple numbers, you can quickly and easily see how much you need to sell at a vendor event to break even or to hit your profit goals. Not just revenue. We're not looking at that number of how many sales you made, $1,000 or whatever, but profit. If you're saying I don't want to make $1,000, I want to take home $1,000. This calculator makes it really easy to see how much you need to sell to hit that number. So when we include all of this here, the total value of over $3,000. This doesn't include the accountability calls or the additional support. This would be a $3,000 package, but I am not charging $3,000 for this because that, for me as a creative, would feel insane, right? I don't have $3,000 lying around. So today's price, this is a $497 program, a one-time fee, or 6 monthly payments. And that is because I want to make it easy. I want to make it accessible. I want to make sure you're able to take advantage of this in a way that feels genuine for you. So $3,000 of value, all of these bonuses, $497. And so you can screenshot this link or type this in. It's bit.ly/profitable creators. That takes you straight to the checkout page if you are ready to pull the trigger and join Profitable Creators today. Because really, I want you to stop wondering, why not me? Why is it so easy for them? Why can't I do that? And I want you to start building on that dream and making that business a reality. But you're not in this alone. I'm not gonna sell you this course and then hang you out to dry if you get frustrated. I do have a money back guarantee. And so if in the first 30 days you go through the material, you apply it and you're not seeing results, I will refund your full payment because I'm invested in making sure that you are successful. I want to see all my makers and creatives making money doing what they love. But it's time for a new approach. It's time to stop trying to figure it all out on our own and doing it alone. Could you scale it by bootstrapping everything? Yeah, you definitely could. Tons of people have done it, right? I did it. But it took me 10 years to get to the point where I felt successful. And if I had been able or willing to invest less than $500, which is less than I often brought in at a 4-hour sales event, I could have grown so much faster. And so, if you are ready to pull that trigger, join me inside Profitable Creators today. You get all of this plus those 2 accountability calls, all for the price of $497. And just a few more testimonials. Tria Prima is an herbal supplier and alchemy, and tea bar, who I helped really create a solid plan for her storefront. They opened 6 months before COVID. They were able to survive COVID and they continue to be successful in part because of the work we've done. So you have 2 choices. You can stick with the slow growth path and take time to find your way. And if that's your passion, then I fully support you and am going to cheer you on. But if you need something a little bit faster, you can learn and implement new strategies designed to help makers just like you. So let's grow together and create the business that you want, not the one that you end up with. Let's create the systems that build the foundation for your growth and learn the sales strategies to build your best sales year yet. So again, you can get all of this profitable creators plus AI subscription, social media for introverts, and my email made easy, email like a pro program, all for $497 today. Just a few more people that I've worked with who have seen amazing results from going through the content in this program. So now I'm going to stop recording. I'm going to go ahead and take any questions. But in the meantime, I look forward to seeing you inside Profitable Creators. There we go.